The academy is really hard. Do I have what it takes to be a trooper? Am I brave enough? Am I tough enough? Am I smart enough? And at the end of the day, whatever you think is what's going to happen. And so I told myself, you are tough enough, you are smart enough, and you're needed. And you're gonna go and you're gonna do a great job, and you're gonna be the change that you want to see. Hey, I'm Jaclyn. I am a trooper with the Texas Highway Patrol, and I have been stationed here in Del Rio for 4.5 years. I think everyone's why has something to do with wanting to help people, right? As why we want to be in law enforcement. For me, I feel like it went a little bit further than that. DPS and being in the Highway Patrol was the only agency and the only thing that I wanted to do and that I put in for. There's so many different opportunities with our agency specifically, even aside from Highway Patrol, but I thought it was a really cool opportunity. I did feel like I had a set of skills and kind of the right mindset to be a great trooper and to make an impact in my area, to be able to protect people that may not have been protected otherwise. I always had great interactions with law enforcement growing up and just seeing the positivity that they bring to our community. On top of that, before I applied for DPS, I was working in a family business for a gun range, teaching gun safety lessons, teaching people how to shoot and defend themselves. I had a lot of friends in law enforcement that I highly respected. I loved to hear what they did. And I honestly just thought, man, I feel like I could do that and succeed and help people even further than what I'm doing now. So some of the relationships that I built when I was working in the firearms industry are kind of what guided me. And I had kind of my own little hometown heroes that I looked up to, and a lot of those guys were troopers. I thought what they did was so cool. They looked great in the cowboy hats too, so you can't take away from that, right? But it's always been something that I've admired, and I've been really privileged to be able to be a part of any kind of law enforcement agency, but especially being a trooper. As a woman going into law enforcement, I think naturally you're gonna feel a little hesitation. You're gonna wonder, is it going to be affected in a negative way? Am I gonna be held back from things because I'm a woman? And I can tell you, from my personal experience, I've never felt that. If anything, I feel like a lot of my successes are things that I've used from a female perspective, things that were benefits as being a female in law enforcement. And in DPS specifically, we've seen many of our leaders and some of our up and coming positions, and a big push because we want women in law enforcement to have diversity, not only with males and females, but different races, different religions, different backgrounds. Are you military or are you civilian? Having all of us work together as a team is only a pro. It's never a con when you can get more perspectives than just one. Specifically being a woman in law enforcement with interacting with the public, that in some ways, I think that you have a little bit of relatability because almost everyone, has a mother that they are aware of, or a sister, or someone of that nature that they may be a little more tender-hearted than, the typical more, masculine male roles that are played. So I think a lot of people can relate, to women, and especially if you're friendly and respectful to people, most people are that way back. I would say that's a generality even with males, that if we're friendly, like males are friendly to males, they'll get that back. But specifically being a woman, I do think that it tends to be relatable, and a lot of people, especially men, are protective of women for the most part. And I would say as a generality on even arrest, I think there have been cases where I've been treated maybe a little bit more kindly or more respect because of that, and people thinking of how they'd want their mother or sister treated. We get to help people on a daily basis in what we do, and so I think for us, a lot of those stories of kind of our hey, we saved this person, we helped this person, a lot of us don't even want to share those stories out of the fear of being thought of as cocky or big-headed or whatever, trying to speak highly of ourselves. I think that most people in law enforcement are pretty hard on themselves. So we have had unique opportunities even here with different child rescues that we've been a part of on the border, and that always makes you feel great. Even reassuring children in a moment when they're scared because their guardian or parent or whoever that they're with has put them in a really dangerous, sad position, and being able to be that person that's like, hey, you're gonna be okay. Here's a teddy bear, here's a sticker, come push buttons in my patrol car. I've worked several really bad wrecks where children were involved, and even innocent adults, where you're able to help families get through situations that they didn't deserve to be in because they were completely innocent bystanders that were impacted in a terrible, terrible way because of selfishness of the human smuggling trade, because that's what it is. So there's so many stories that we have here, even specifically as a border issue, where we do get to help people on a daily basis. And you're right, they are forgotten about a lot of the time. So one of my big catches lately that I am really proud of is one of my human smuggling pursuits that I was involved in. The driver had a murder warrant out of Louisiana, and I was able to capture him and not only arrest him, and the case ended up going federal, but we shared a lot of information with authorities in Louisiana so that not only did we get that driver who was a gang member for smuggling charges, we also were able to provide information on his murder warrant where they can also take him for that once he's done here. I think that the unique thing of being in law enforcement, interacting with children, is it takes you out of that costume that you're wearing for just a second, right? So when we put on this, I say costume, but you can say, you know, our uniform, it sometimes acts as a costume. It's like a superhero where you get to be somebody that when I take it off, like I'm Jaclyn, but when this is on, I'm Trooper Gooding. So interacting with children takes that away a little bit, and it reminds you that you're a human, and to them, you may or may not be Trooper Gooding. You may be this person that is the only person reassuring them or taking care of them or looking out for them at that time. So it definitely melts the iciest of hearts, I think, when you have to deal with children. Being in a border area, we see a lot of things that I think most people don't consider. I think that there's such a prevalence on human smuggling, and it's such a political, polarizing issue that a lot of times people forget that we are dealing with humans, and we understand that. And we're also here not only to enforce laws and protect our citizens of the United States and of Texas, but I'm also here to protect people that are being smuggled and trafficked, because they are typically victims in a lot of ways as well. So we see that with a big human trafficking nature in big cities especially, but moving towards that or being taken advantage of after a smuggling event even. A lot of the children that we encounter have nothing to do with the decisions that their parents are making. So there are a lot of things that you see in these, and especially revolving around children that have no choice in the matter, that people would never recognize. Children being used as a pawn to literally being pushed through barbed wire so that we would open up for their parents to come behind them. And when I say children, as young as 2-3-year-old, barely walking children being pushed through barbed wire as a pawn. And it may or may not even be with their parents. It may be with a random group of people that they've been sent with. So you see a lot of you know, the good, bad, and the ugly. There's some really beautiful moments in what we see so prevalently in human smuggling, and there's some really terrible aspects in human nature as well. One thing that's prevalent right now that we see here on the border, there seems to be this big push about kind of us versus Border Patrol, or us versus federal, or us versus National Guard, or whatever the case may be. One of the things that I want to make sure everybody knows is that law enforcement agencies are partners. And so with us, we work every day with Border Patrol. We work with our local departments. We work with sheriff's deputies. Any department that we can help, that's our partner and that's our teammate. And so we work so well together. The boots on the ground are going to do whatever it takes to share resources and to meet our common goals, which is taking down the bad guy. However that may be and whoever that may be, we're going to accomplish that goal together. So Border Patrol are our friends, our allies. Any of our other partners are as well, and we share those resources for the common good. So there's no animosity here at the border between any of our fellow agencies, and if anything, I feel like our relationships are reliant on each other more than ever. And in fact, in aircraft, the #1 agency that we help is Border Patrol, and that's DPS aircraft using most of our hours of flight to help Border Patrol. So there's no animosity. Those guys are our teammates, and we wish them the best just like we do. So I remember when I had the urge to apply for DPS, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I had a lot of those questions of, man, can I do this? The academy is really hard. Do I have what it takes to be a trooper? Am I brave enough? Am I tough enough? Am I smart enough? And at the end of the day, whatever you think is what's going to happen. And so I told myself, you are tough enough, you are smart enough, and you're needed. And you're gonna go and you're gonna do a great job, and you're gonna be the change that you wanna see. And so for me, that was enough. And you have to have a strong support system in one way or another that does believe in you. And I was lucky enough that my family was very supportive. They understood, and they also understood the role that was very scary, that when you go into an agency like DPS, you don't know where you're gonna end up. So I'm from East Texas. I got sent to the border on Mexico. I've never been this far in my life until I was stationed here. But I remember when I applied, someone kind of making the comment to me like, oh, well, you know, their academy is really hard. Like, and I was like, yeah, I know it's hard. And they were like, well, you know, you're gonna be competing with men, right? And you're gonna have to keep up physically with men. And I was like, yeah, I know that. And they were almost doing it like preparing me for failure and asked me what my backup plan was. And I said, I don't have a backup plan. I'm going to be a trooper and I'm gonna be a great one. And so I did. I went to my academy. I did very well. I've done well in all of the goals that I've set for DPS. And I think having those goals that you know you want to achieve is very important. So my goals may not be the same as every other person's goals, but having those goals and knowing, hey, I'm setting this goal and I'm going to do it no matter what it takes. And it could be small things. It could be big things like being top trooper or being a human smuggling expert. It could be whatever you want. But if you believe that you're not good enough, you're not gonna be. So at the end of the day, whether you're a male or female, whatever you tell yourself is gonna be true. And females are needed and they are such an asset, and you can compete with the males and there is a fair shot. It's just, do you have the mental toughness to know that on your own and to get through it and push through those obstacles as they arise, because any obstacle can be taken down. It's just the right mindset. I'm Trooper Gooding and I'm a great American warrior.
Thanks for watching this episode of Great American Warriors, featuring the women of America who are serving all Americans, both overseas as well as right here at home. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can know when new episodes are released. If you or someone you know is a great American warrior, message us today to be considered for an upcoming episode.